I have here is a bunch of questions for paper 1 business management, Abarca case study, and this is May 26th, of course. Unit 1 particularly. We went through all the previous questions. Now we are on question 12 and 15. 13, 14, and 11 are quite similar. We already covered them. Explain the interests of any two external stakeholder groups. I can go through them quickly, but this is going to be quick. Do check out the previous videos as I explain them in more detail, and all the other questions as well. So question 11, explain the interests of any two external stakeholder groups. Okay, and by the way, I have a bunch of notes, so this is going to help you guys if you stick around, right? A lot of advantages, disadvantages, and this is exactly what you're going to do in your exams. So it does help. Okay. Interests of any two external stakeholder groups. Okay, so we have our external stakeholders. Let's look down here. Now, before I show you them, this is our internal. What are our external stakeholder groups? Definitely just write it down. And I'm going to write it down with you, right? We have customers, they are external. We have suppliers, right? We have government, that is external. We have investors, that's sort of that's actually internal, but potential investors, that is a possibility in a specific case study. We have pressure groups, that is important. And of course, we have our local community, right? And these are really important when we're talking about, especially CSR. Those are going to be key external stakeholders we want to talk about. So here are our external stakeholders, and we were told explain the interests of two stakeholders, right? External stakeholders. So here we have 5. Choose any one, and what we have to do in that 4 marker is choose 2. We want 1 identification and explanation. Customers want good value for money and high quality, or maybe Abarca's customers want something else, right? They want environmentally friendly products, or they want, let's say, they just want concrete. They want maybe recycled e-waste. What do they want? Do they want high quality, low quality? They want low price. They want, let's say, high status. Some customers just want a high brand sort of value, right? And explain why that's going to need an application to the case study. We don't have that right now, but you can sort of develop your answers, and based on the case study you see in the exam tomorrow, day after, you're going to put that into your answers, right? Best one here, environmental pressure group, right? We have a group of people who share a common interest to try to influence decisions made by an organization. We covered this in the previous video, so go check that out. Right now, I'm just showing you really quickly for those of you who came in and maybe I want to give you some value, right? So here, take a note, take a screenshot. This is my notes, and it should help, right? Okay, now I'm gonna go. We did cover it before. I did explain it before, so I don't want to repeat for those of you who were there in the previous video. Okay, next. So the previous video is in the playlist, so go check that out. Now we're asked to distinguish the difference between shareholder and stakeholder. Okay, that is a great question, actually. And honestly, I think I've seen this question once, or maybe in a mock, right? But this is a definitely possible question that could come up. And so, what is a stakeholder? Stakeholder is anyone who is affected or has an active interest in the company's decisions, right? So, let's say anyone affected or with active interest in success or operations of a business, right? So they're affected by the success or operation, or they have an active interest in the success or operation of this business. Let's say hash ABC, right? We should say success, operation, and decisions, right? decisions is the key term here of that business. Now, uh, we should probably give some examples. We looked at the examples below. We can say external, internal, right? So we can talk about that. And we have to link it to the case study. So application to case study specific. It's 4 marks. So that is that. Now, shareholder. What is a shareholder? Someone who owns part part of the company through their shares, right? They bought shares, so through shares, or they were given shares in exchange for something. So through shares. And what is their main objective? They mainly want, let's say, dividends, high financial return, right? Financial ROI, return on investment. And then they want their share value to increase if they're going to sell their shares later, right? Appreciation of their share values, share value, shareholder value. So, okay, shareholder value increase. Now these are a bunch of notes again. Sorry, it's getting a bit crowded, right? Now my OneNote is overwhelmed a bit. That happens to everyone. Just give it a minute. Second. Okay, that's perfect. Now we finished question 12. Now on to question 15. Explain 2 reasons why economies of scale are important. Now I have a bunch of notes for economies of scale too, guys. And we can literally use any of them. Now, let's see. Economies of scale. We can choose any 2. Let's see. What does the question ask specifically? Explain 2 reasons why economies of scale are important. So we can say, okay, reduced. The idea is that because of growth, because of an increased scale of operation, right? Scale of operation, let me highlight that. Increased scale of operation, we have lower per unit cost, and per unit cost, we call that average cost, lower per unit cost of production through increased scale of operation, right? And because of that lower average cost, we have greater efficiency. Efficiency is directly related to that lower average cost. And because of lower average cost, we improve competitiveness, right? So I can maybe make a annotation there. Let's use orange. Lower average cost and efficiency. We have improved competitiveness. That's one reason, right? Now we can charge lower prices, or we are more efficient, so we are making larger margins, right? So improved competitiveness because of via larger margins, larger margins, or via lower prices, right? We can either have a price parity or price proximity strategy, lower prices. And we can say, especially since maybe in the case study they say needed a high investment into this factory, or needed large amounts of, let's say, fixed assets that we needed to invest in. So it helps recover that cost, right? And we are making a return on that investment. And it's just efficiency. The next thing we can talk about is we can talk about specific things, right? Purchasing economies of scale. If it buys its, I think it was limestone and clay, right? In the case study, the materials, if they buy those materials for its concrete in bulk, since they're the largest concrete producer, they buy so much of this raw material, they can produce it at a very low cost because they're buying in bulk, getting discounts. They're not buying at in separate sort of uh, orders, right? because they're making larger purchases, they get a discount, and that is typical. And then you have longer trade credit, especially when you're a bigger company. That reduces your average cost of supplies, which reduces your average cost of production, which makes you more efficient, right? Reduced average costs. Now, we also have marketing economies of scale. That doesn't seem to be in the case study, but we could see a twist later on in the case study, and this could be relevant. Next is risk bearing. So if it diversifies its portfolio, there's reduced risk, right? It has multiple revenue streams now. It's in the e-waste industry. It's recycling, producing gold. Now it can sell to jewelry stores. Um, it is still in the concrete industry. It's the largest concrete producer, so it's selling concrete. So it has multiple revenue streams, diversified portfolio. So if one product fails or major customer is lost, right, there's less risk, right? Now we still have revenue coming from at least one other place, and that is great as a large business with high costs. And those costs are fixed, right? Fixed costs are now spread across multiple operations, so they can probably use their e-waste recycling facility and keep that right next to their concrete production facility, right? Or maybe put it even in the same sort of large factory. We're not sure. Or in the same sort of campus acres of space. So they're saving fixed costs. They're not in two different locations, shipping, um, transporting, right? So spread fixed costs across a wide range of operations, especially if it's a similar product. Here we're talking about maybe slightly different products, so it's a bit different. We have financial, so like we were talking about in the previous videos, you can borrow large sums of money, lower interest rates. They have share capital now, they have different sources. And with lower interest rates, you have reduced cost of borrowing. That's an important thing to mention, seen as less risky. That's the reason for the larger amounts and lower interest rates. Yep. And so these are the impacts of having different types of economies of scale. You have managerial, specialist managers to improve productivity and efficiency. So when you have maybe a sole trader who's doing everything, that sole trader is not going to be efficient, right? So we want specific managers to be doing specific sort of organizational functions, right? HR manager, we want a finance manager, we want a CEO who's doing operations, we want product specific manager, right? So that improves productivity and efficiency. Okay. So yeah, very experienced people, managers for each department, and this is exactly what we talked about. Specialization, I think I just skipped over. Division of labor in the workforce. Okay, so if we're doing something like advanced manufacturing, smart manufacturing, and we need specialist labor, right? Not unskilled, we need specialist labor, then we're having them work in different sort of sections, doing their own thing, specializing in that. Again, similar to managerial, and they're very efficient at their specific job. So you're essentially using specialists for everything, and you have a decrease in your average costs. Now, they could be more expensive laborers. That's different. That could increase your average costs, but the idea is that they have higher productivity, but obviously it's case by case. So definitely think about that. Okay, so this is a lot, of course. Do not try to put everything. You just need two short ideas, and we can just mention that. Pretty straightforward question. Choose one reason, two reasons. I would go for purchasing and just the general idea of improved competitiveness with higher profit margins or lower price will attract more customers at the end of the day, more efficient, things like that. So here you just need one mark for identifying the reason, explaining that reason, and then one mark for applying it to the case study, which we can't really do right now. These we covered in the previous video and I sort of explained it in this as well when I showed you down there. To interests of ABC's employees, board of directors. I think you guys saw that, right? I'll just show it to you instead of explaining. It might be a bit too much as we did cover it before. So again, I would say check out the other video in the playlist. There's 2 or 3. Okay, my screen. Okay, see, so many notes, it is glitching. Okay. Yep. Right. Let's see. Yep. So I made one for employees and we have one for POD. That's exactly what they asked for. You guys can take a screenshot. I've highlighted the key terms. So this is very easy for you guys. Explained it in the other video as well. So definitely check that out. Do drop a like and subscribe if this helped. I'll make more videos. I'm going to the next chapters now. So do stick around, check out the playlists, and see you guys in the next one. Good luck. You guys got this. Don't worry. See you.